Good morning, everybody. My name is Mahmoud Joe, CEO of Elixir Global Group, and a consultant for GIZ, and the moderator for this Dialogue Framework Workshop. I'd like to welcome everyone, and I'd like to also give you guys a rundown of today's program. Basically, we'll be having the opening session beginning now, which will indicate we will introduce ourselves and get to know each other. And there will be a statement by the EU representatives, Abdul Rahman, and there will also be participants' introduction, so we all get to know each other. Thereafter, there will be also a brief introduction of the Techifi project and what it is about, and everybody gets familiarized with that. There's also going to be a solar and Tvet sector statement by Mr. Fabio, and the objectives of the forum, and will also be outlined in the opening in the opening session. Thereafter, there will be a presentation by Chris Dean of Reagam on the solar industry, and basically titled Solarizing Gambia. Thereafter, for 20 minutes, and thereafter there will also be a solar-related presentation by Mr. Keba Silla on providing solar-related skills for the youth. Thereafter, also there will be a debate for the both sides of the room. Will be the Tvet, the vocational and education training industry, as well as the private sector, to basically discuss ways of basically bridging the gap between these two sectors to be able to provide jobs for the youth, and bringing together basically the two sectors in order to realize the purpose of the project itself. And thereafter, there will be also a group work that takes basically from both sides of the room also, and there will be a presentation of the key findings based on the group work, and thereafter the presentation will be done also. Of course, in between we'll have the lunch break, and also visit the training center here in the GTMI compound here. So that is basically the rundown of the program today, and I would like to basically recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Energy, and the representative of the EU, and Mr. Fabio, who's the GIZ coordinator, the Techifi project coordinator, and basically also recognize each and every one of you. So I'll pass the mic to the EU representative to make a statement on EU's contribution to this Techifi project.
Dear Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, dear managers and trainers from our partner Tvet institutions, dear representatives from the private sector, dear partners, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ridwan Abdulrahman, and I am a program manager at the EU delegation to the Gambia. It is a pleasure to be here this morning for the opening of this very first dialogue framework workshop between the solar energy industry and Tvet institutions. As you may know, the Techifi program is funded by the European Union's Trust Fund for Africa, with a budget of 23 million euros. Its objective is to contribute to socio-economic development and nurture positive prospects for local populations as well as for returning migrants in the Gambia. It is currently being implemented by 4 partners: ITC-YEP, Enable, IMVF, and the German Development Cooperation GIZ. Under the TechIFI program, GIZ has planned to bring together on a yearly basis, starting from today, solar energy experts and Tvet institutions involved in this promising sector. The initiative is expected not only to improve the communication between Tvet and industry stakeholders, but most importantly, contribute to significant improvements of the training offered by the TechIFI program in the solar energy sector. Through this dialogue framework, our aim and hope is that the skills training courses funded by the EU will be more strongly oriented by industry standards and practices. This, for us, is a means of providing the young beneficiaries of our program with the best possible chances of finding sustainable employment or of becoming self-employed. The youth of this country need quality training that matches with the increasing demands of the labor market so that they can really make it here in the Gambia, TechIFI. This challenge requires the contribution from all stakeholders. More particularly, it requires a strong collaboration between the private sector and training providers. As the financial supporter of TechIFI, we've welcomed this initiative in the hope that it can provide a strong foundation for continuous fine-tuning of skills curricula and adaptation of training methodologies to the technological advances of the growing solar industry. In this particular sector alone, the EU, in partnership with the European Investment Bank and the World Bank, will be funding a 142 million euros program to solarize all public health and school structures in the country. This program alone will provide young graduates from solar energy training courses significant opportunities to offer their professional services. These installations will need to be maintained and upgraded in the years to come, and we are confident that the new generation of Gambian skilled technicians will be up to this and other challenges. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the partners present here today for their commitment towards the youth of this country, and wish you all very fruitful discussions and, most importantly, an intense and fruitful collaboration in the years to come. Thank you for your kind attention.
So I want to recognize the presence of the EU representative, Mr. Ridwan Abdurrahman, the coordinator of GIZ, the consultant Rita, representative of MOHAS, acting director GTMI, and all other protocols respectfully observed. First of all, I want to extend our sincere thanks to the European Union for supporting this initiative, which is very important. This TechIFI initiative shows that we should believe in ourselves and believe that if we work hard in our country, we can make a difference without going across the dangerous seas to Europe. And I think it's a good opportunity to combat irregular migration. I also want to thank the EU, as he mentioned about the 142 million US dollar project. From here, I'm going to the steering committee of that meeting. I chair that too, so I'm quite aware of that. And that is to support a solar plant in the Gambia for power generation, 20 megawatt, but also to connect about 1,100 schools and medical facilities in the country. It's a huge project, and I think it's going to help us address or achieve our objectives in the National Development Plan of increasing our renewable energy uptake from 2% to 40% by 2021, which I think you all have a role to play in that endeavor. What I would just want to probably tell EU, I understood that already the contract has been awarded to the implementer, but how they work with our local entrepreneurs to implement these projects. I think it's very important as a form of transferring skills and knowledge, but at the same time driving their business potential, because if you want to say encourage TechIFI, it has to be worthwhile. You know, you cannot TechIFI if the business opportunities are not there, or they are all taken by companies outside. So how they collaborate with our local companies, where they can outsource them to implement the different projects while they put the standards in place and ensure they meet those standards. I think it's an opportunity, that needs to be created for them. So I would encourage EU to look into that. Take a fee as a project, yes, we can. I'm sure we can do that. But in as much as we can do it also, it's about those coming back or those intending to go out there. How do we embrace them and bring them as part of us? Which means that we also need to do some outreach. We need to do some awareness creation, sensitization. We need to do some coaching. Let it not just be our company, but how do our companies go out that are benefiting from this project, go out there to see that they embrace the other Gambian youths into this business so that they can have a livelihood out of it. I want to encourage everybody to emulate that. At the level of the ministry, at the policy level, Renewable Energy Act already has given some incentives, which I think Mr. Chris is very aware of. If you liaise with REAGAM, they'll be able to guide you, where you can get zero tariff for some of the equipment you will be importing into the country. I do know that already with the project, that facility will be available, but you need to take advantage of those facilities. I also want to encourage partnership amongst yourselves, coming together to deliver on projects. I mean, let it not be seen as my company and that's your company, where you can come together and maybe get something useful for both companies. It's important you create a synergy and take advantage of that, because at times some of the projects may be beyond the capability of one company. But if you put your different skills together, you'll be able to get those projects and deliver them effectively. In that, I'm also saying maybe at the level of EU, how they can support organizing these Gambian youths further to create like a company, because there is this opportunity of off-grid solutions, mini-grids, that we can create in other areas where the grid hasn't reached, where NAWEC is not. And there are affluent areas up country there where you can make good business out of mini-grids. See how you can encourage this techie fee through this techie fee initiative and create at least a company that is owned by these youths you are trying to make a difference and provide energy and livelihood to people in those communities up there. I think it's a possibility. Right now we are developing a policy in that respect, which some of you have participated in that process. And that's the essence, and that's what we are looking into, to use renewable energy to provide electricity in the rural areas that doesn't have electricity and where NAWEC is not, as a business. So I encourage EU to see how we can facilitate, even just to create even one company that excels in that. I mean, I think it will be a good progress for the country. Also, I'm sure you're aware of 2 weeks ago, we just validated the training modules for this for this renewable energy curriculum that was developed under the UNIDO project, to mainstream renewable energy education in our educational system, right from the junior schools to the tertiary level. So those are there. I want to see how we could also collaborate in really implementing that. We're working on the training of the trainers, but the other challenge is the labs, because some of the renewable energy need training on lab training. And I think we have the Gambian Renewable Energy Center around GTTI, but definitely we've been struggling to get a good lab there. We think at least if we have 1 or 2 good labs in the country, the schools can use that to do their practicals when they train. So this is something maybe we need to also see how we can collaborate on, especially when we want to get these solar standalone systems, about 1,100 in schools, and you need the skill set to be able to do the necessary maintenance and upkeep of those facilities in the country. But however, as I said, I have many companies here, we have these training institutions. I think the collaboration between the industry and the training institution can make a very good difference in this area. And I would encourage that as our companies also, when we work and do our installation, we make sure we follow standards. Because we have challenges where we were encouraging this standalone solar system to connect to the grid, but the standards are the challenges also. So that's why we need to know, maybe working together with NAWEC and the other players in the industry, to develop the right standards that everybody needs to follow so that integration and interconnectivity can be seamless amongst our different projects we will be implementing. And the need for quality work, getting the right people, or even training the people to acquire the right thing. Because at times you may not get the right people, but coaching them, mentoring them, they can excel and become very good technicians. I'm glad that someone mentioned is from the Gambian Workers Association. I think it is very important they are here, so they are part of the whole ecosystem, that how we treat our workers, how we preserve their rights, how we make them comfortable in their work environment. It is very important. And I think we need to observe the rights of employees. As we employ, they are all human beings. We need to make sure their dues are given to them. We need to make sure they are treated as human beings. We need to make sure that the rules and regulations that embodies the employment of your staff are really looked after. On that note, I want to thank you and wish you a successful partnership. Thank you.
I would like to start also on behalf of the German Corporation to thank all of you for joining us today. I would like to first of all recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy. I would like to recognize as well the presence of all our ministerial and state partners, starting from Mohurst. I would like also to thank all the consultants and experts who have contributed in bringing us together today. And I would also like to thank the two major stakeholders, protagonists of today's workshop, the energy sector representatives and also the Tvet representatives. We have been working very closely with these two stakeholders for the past almost 10 months now. We feel that we're part of two families, and today for us is like a matchmaking event. It's like some kind of a wedding celebration. We're bringing everybody, these two big families, together under one roof. We already had the opportunity of bringing some of you in a workshop where we revised the curricula that was being used in the various Tvet institutions. It was very important to get the inputs from the industry and to make sure that we had case studies, we had practical experiences, we had this all injected into the ongoing curriculum that is being used now in the various training institutions that we are supporting through the EU-funded program. This is also an occasion for me to thank you, Mr. Ridwan, to thank the EU for entrusting us with the management of this project. They have been extremely supportive in everything that we're doing. I think it's been a very fruitful 10 months. We have been able to mobilize quite a good number of training institutions, working very hard to lay the groundwork for, let's say, customized training programs, of which solar installation maintenance is probably the most important one. We aim at training more or less 300 trainees in West Coast, URR, and LRR. We've already started doing so. Many of the partners here today have already initiated these training programs. This on the one hand. On the other, we also have a business development component, and there we also want to bring in solar technology. If you look at the various factors why young people are actually leaving the rural areas towards the urban areas or even beyond Gambia, crossing the borders to reach, in the hope to reach the European shores, I think the technological gap plays a significant role. I think young people in the rural areas, they kind of feel isolated. They feel this gap very, very strongly. And we think in the TechFE program that bringing in solar energy combined with other technologies can actually help bridge that gap, can actually offer concrete opportunities for these young people to actually make the best out of the conditions they find in their own setting. And in our business development component, we are about to launch a TechFE grant, which will take place next week. And we will have a component for solar grants, which will enable young entrepreneurs, we're talking about small or micro enterprises that have already been established, to make the best of solar technology and combine solar technology to other equipment or facilities, for example, in terms of agro-processing or packaging or cold storages and so on, to actually boost their production, also expand their businesses and hopefully employ more and more young people. So we think that these are very important incentives to help young people make the best out of the environment in which they are living, especially in the rural areas. We heard from the EU, alone the EU is bringing solar energy to all public schools and health facilities. From what I hear, this is going to be the first country worldwide that will have solarized public schools and health centers, so basically all of them. And this is definitely going to engage a lot of young people, a lot of technicians. I really appreciated the recommendations of the Permanent Secretary to see how best we can network with this program and other programs which are being launched in parallel in the rural areas especially, and have as many young people open a career and become engaged in this very important sector, a sector that is basically the future here in the Gambia. We will hear from Christine what the advances are, what is in the horizon in this sector, and there's actually a lot we can learn from and take inspiration from and bring back to our young people. So I think all in all, the conditions are improving significantly for young people. The opportunities are increasing by the day. I think it is our duty to do our very best to make sure that these young people are very well equipped to be able to face these challenges and to be at the height of these challenges so as to engage themselves and earn their living in a sustainable manner. So I hope that this first framework workshop is only the foundation of a series of encounters, not necessarily in a workshop format, but also various forms of cooperation between the solar industry and the skills training institutions. I hope that this kind of dialogue and cooperation will even continue beyond our project, but as long as we're here, rest assured that we will do everything in our possibility to maintain this kind of momentum and ensure that it converges towards greater jobs and employment opportunities for the young people. So thank you very much, and we look forward to working with all of you.
Hello again and welcome here, because I met a lot of you before today, and the program of today is we met a lot of you, and based on what we heard, we made the program for today. So we really hope that it's going to be very effective. As it is said and explained by the EU representative, Ms. Ridwan, I could say, the objectives is just that we get to in a dialogue with each other, and we invited the partners basically from the industries and from the Tvet institutions. Dialogue means that you get to know each other and that you meet and sit with each other, and because of meeting with each other, then you start a collaboration. Hopefully you build relationships, and from these relationships you can develop joint action plans. And that is the main focus of today. The dialogue framework is not about only being in dialogue with each other, but it's very much about coming into two action plans. So we will be happy at the end of the day if we have developed some of the action plans. The action plans, we can just make some, we will come to some plans, we will state them, And then throughout the year, we will also monitor if the actions are taken. So then GIZ is also available for checking if there are any obstacles, and then we can see how to deal with these obstacles. And then these are yearly meetings. We hope that maybe next year we'll meet at another Tvet institution where they also train youth in solar installation. And then we will have a kind of follow-up. And the idea is that in a few years' time, more actions will be taken, and in bridging the gap, improvements will come. So it's not all about talking, but it's much about taking action. That is what we believe in. That is the main. Having said that, I want to say something about the process so far. I met many of you, as I said. I want to underline already that quality itself is no issue. Because everybody who is here is convinced that if you talk about solar, we should talk about quality materials and quality installation, qualified workers who install it. I don't think I need to even explain it, because we all know that in the Gambia sometimes, unqualified workers are working, low quality materials are used, with all the problems as such. I think I don't need to further explain this, huh? So quality is in itself is not an issue. It's not about if we can get standards of high quality, but how, and how to implement it. Further, I want to underline that everybody says that the ministries and the institutes like PURA, the Gambian Standards Bureau, the Gambian Chamber of Commerce, and NACA, they will have a role to play. Yes, that is also why we invited them here. Unfortunately, we have not seen a representative of the GCCI yet, or NACA, but maybe they will come later. But today, we focus on the dialogue between the Tvet institutions and the industries. We want to hear what we can do by ourselves, because we believe that it's possible if you focus on what you want to do yourself. Further, I want to say that we invited those who are working with us somehow closely to us. We have met you before. And that is why we started with pioneers, we call it. And these are the people we can start, and maybe later there can be a snowball effect. Because we all know that, if you look at the solar sector, there are more Tvet institutions maybe, there are more industries, obviously, businesses who are involved, but we start with this group. Because we believe if we have a small group of pioneers willing to come to joint actions, then later it can grow. About the project in itself, the solarizing the Gambia and what TechIFI is doing, Fabio did already explain, but maybe I can just briefly mention that we did not start from zero. First of all, there has been done a labor market survey. So based on the labor market survey, we decided to work on this solarization, because, we see an economical sector which is growing. So that is important why we wanted to support the development in that sector. The curriculums at the Tvet centers, they also have been improved. And people from the Tvet centers have been involved. Some people of the industries have been involved. So we are really working on quality curriculums. That's what I want to tell you. The trainers involved of the Tvet institutions, they all went to GTTI for Train the Trainers program. And the Train the Trainer program was one part about the pedagogy. So it's more like student-centered learning. Except the other part was also on the technical areas. So that they know what is most up-to-date theory and knowledge that you need to have and insights you need to have these days. Well, the lecturers here today, they are all involved in offering solar installation courses, so they know what they are talking about. At this moment, I checked, I think Momodu around 120 youths are aimed to be trained this year in 2017. If you talk about numbers, we talk about, if I'm right, 20 in URR, no, sorry, in LRR, I think 40 in URR and 60 in the greater Banjul area. And that is only this year. After this year, we will repeat it again. So that is the kind of number that we are talking about. And obviously, all these students, they will need attachments and quality education, and we are making improvement, but still we need further improvements, especially on the subjects like attachments. And also field visits, entrepreneurs coming to the schools and talk about how it is to run an enterprise, etc. And we want the students to be fully baked. I think I am quoting somebody here. But I think it's a good term. You know, we want the students to be fully baked when they leave their school. Not half-baked, fully baked. I think the entrepreneurs will be happy if you have fully baked there. So put that in mind. I don't want to say too much about the GIZ projects, because Fabio explained a bit, but we are also establishing these solar centers in Mansa Konko and Basse. So that is also helping solarizing the Gambia. And the idea is that, especially up-country, also we need developments there, and developments will come. And that is also the GIZ project as such is focusing on the Greater Banjul area, but then again, the URR and LRR. So it's not all the Gambia, but focusing on these projects for this project of GIZ. So we will see solar centers in Mansa Konko and Basse, but this is only 2. And these centers, they will consist of some entrepreneurs who might be there, but also some workshops, people offering repair, maintenance, etc., and maybe also people who are training others. So that these are very central points for solarizing these areas. And also assisting the people up-country in maybe maintenance and repair of their installations. The workshop of today, I just want to tell you that we started to think about this in April, May. Then we discovered that there is another EU project. It's called the Job Skills and Finance Projects. It's also sponsored by the EU. And that project is, at the moment, they focus on establishing some sector skills councils. And sector skills councils, they more or less have the same objective. That is also to contribute to the collaboration between the Tvet centers and the industries. But the way they work is a little bit different. This is more or less based on the dialogue. So you sit together and from here you move forward. I think it's an African proverb. I think they say if you want to travel, a group is more fast.
If you have to travel far.
Yeah, if you have to travel far. So that is why if we believe in dialogue. It should not be only the industries responsible, not only the Tvet centers, get together. Having said this, the solar energy is not among the pilots of the sector skills councils, but maybe later we will be under the sector skills councils as well. We are aligning, and Raymond Moser of YEP Gambia, who is in charge of this project, he's overseeing that project, he excused himself, he could not come today, but we will align with him very well. And we are also aligning, maybe I need to underline that again, we are aligning, we are working together with NACA and also the Chamber of Commerce in all the activities that we do. So even the validation of the modules already developed, under their responsibility, we will collaborate with them and develop them further. I'm very happy that also Mariama Samba is here from Mohurst, the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy. Except they are the ones taking responsibility of it, and we will align with them, be sure of that. But for today, I just hope that we will get together, come to the joint action plan. Okay. That's it.